Hey everybody, Marlo Anderson here, your guru of geek, and coming to you with the Tech Ranch. So we're going to be talking a little bit today about COVID-19, how it's impacting your work, how it's impacting your home, how it's impacting your play, your leisure time. So all kinds of great things that we're going to be talking about today. Have a great guest coming up in just a few minutes, Michael Freeman. Michael has an amazing resume, and it'll be fun to watch and visit with him about what he has going on. He's big in the virtual reality space, using telemedicine, but he has a ton of patents from before, including some wireless power patents, those type of things. So it'll be fun to visit with him about this and his thought about moving forward, with the COVID-19 space that we're in. Again, my name is Marlo Anderson, the guru of geek, and we want to welcome you to the Tech Ranch. So how is COVID-19 impacting your life and, your workspace, your the technology that you're using, all of those wonderful things, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. If you have any questions, just type them in the comments area, and I'll try to answer those the best I can as well. Or maybe even just let me know how things are impacting you, right? If you, how's your workplace right now? Are you working from home? Are you, working at your normal job site, but things have changed a little bit? Love to hear those comments from you. So go ahead and type those in if you have any questions on anything or any comments that you want to share. So, in my life, the workplace has changed quite a bit over the last few weeks. I guess the first thing that's always been interesting to me with this is that, we locked our doors. We're actually at work. We've been one of the fortunate few who've actually been able to come to work every day, but we locked our doors so people couldn't come in. We had a doorbell that we installed on the outside using some technology that worked with our Google Home system that we have throughout our office. And you'd ring the doorbell, and somebody and Google would announce that somebody's at the front door. So we'd run up and answer it and allow one person in at a time. That was always kind of an interesting thing. So, it's weird to me to have work in a place where you don't allow your customers to come in unless they're basically allowed to come in. It's not an open door policy. And that might be how things will be for quite some time. Of course, our grocery stores, those type of places are open, but they have actually adopted policies too. I've been to a couple of larger supermarkets, some other places that keep counts of people inside. Of course, the sanitizer, the disinfectants are all changing things, but technology is playing a big part of this too. And I think technology is really going to change how we shop in the future as well. A lot of us who probably weren't so crazy about buying things online in the past have started to buy things online now because you don't go to the store as often, or maybe you order online and you go to pick it up. They'll have it ready for you. So curbside food pickups, curbside when you go to supermarkets, those type of things have become a thing. So things really have changed a lot. And again, if you have any questions or comments, love to hear those from you. How's the workplace changed for you? So probably my newest friend has been video chat, like Zoom, the new Google chat interface that I've used a couple times now. It used to be Hangouts. I forget what they call it now, but I've used that a couple times. That's popped up. Of course, we use a product called StreamYard for what you're watching right now. I've used this a lot over the last couple of months. Really like this product, by the way. StreamYard allows you to broadcast to multiple platforms at the same time. So you might be watching this on Facebook, you might be watching this on Twitter, might be watching this on LinkedIn. There's a variety of ways that you can watch a single broadcast, which is fantastic as well. So anyway, glad you're here. In a couple minutes, Michael Freeman will be joining us. He is the founder of a company that really specializes in VR technologies. We're going to talk a little bit about telemedicine and how VR is really going to impact that. as we move forward as well. So Michael Freeman will be joining us here in just a few minutes. The video conference tools are going to change a lot of things too. Are you going to travel as much in the future? Have you thought about this at all, especially for work when you're actually able to do video conferencing? And, we've actually had these tools for quite some time, but a lot of people probably ignored these tools for a long time because maybe they like to do the travel for work, get out and see new experiences or whatever. But your companies that you work for now are probably starting to understand the cost benefits of video conferencing. So it's going to be really interesting to see as we move forward how many companies are going to continue to embrace you traveling as opposed to using video conferencing tools and keeping you around a little bit more. And then as you think about that even further, right? So let's say your company is expanding. So are they going to actually build new buildings for their workforce to go into? Or is the expansion just a workforce by itself, right? Is it going to be where you will be able to just stay at home and work? Just like Doug right here. So Doug's workspace, by the way. Welcome, Doug, by the way. Thanks for joining. Doug states, I understand my physical home office has changed quite a bit. Here in my home office, not so much. Yes, so that's exactly right, Doug. You've actually been one of the fortunate few who've been working from home for a little bit of time, have that home office scenario. But a lot of people are just being introduced to this for the first time. And maybe that daily commute, kind of nice not to have that. Maybe where Doug and I both live, we live in kind of rural areas, probably not as big a deal, right? But if you're in LA or New York and you spend 90 minutes a day, 2 hours a day on the road, you don't have to do that anymore. Oh my goodness. Imagine that time savings and getting that part of your life back because you don't have to go into work. There's the impact, of course, of not being around people as often. I'm wondering, Doug, for yourself, I don't know if that impacts you or not being in the office. I'm sure there's benefits to not being here, but there's probably some things that aren't so great about it too. Maybe you miss the camaraderie of the office, those type of things. So things are really going to change as we move forward. There's no doubt about it because you have been introduced to technologies that maybe you weren't really familiar with before, forced into this situation because you needed to use these technologies to continue to work. And of course, your employer, your companies that you work for have been introduced to these technologies as well. So the dynamic will be very interesting as we turn back to our new normal and to see if you will actually maybe stay at home a little bit more. Maybe you come into work 2 days a week and stay home 3 days a week. There's just all kinds of things that are going to change, I think, as we move forward. So, yeah. So what else is on the little docket here? The technology that we use at home. I wonder how that's changed for you as well. Did you, over the last 2 months, have you bought more streaming channels than you did than what you had previously because you're looking for more things to do in the house? And maybe cable television wasn't as big a deal to you, or was a big deal to you, but maybe you ran out of choices and maybe you wanted to be able to watch programs when you wanted to and not when the networks told you had to be there. So did you join Netflix for the first time or Prime Video? Did you get the Disney Channel? Did you get CBS Interactive during this time because it gave you more choices, or Hulu? Did you? And you can put that into the comments area, anybody, if you actually bought a Prime Video streaming service, whatever you want to call it, during this time, or did you even? I was at Sam's Club the other day, and I was coming through, and I happened to know the person that's at the door checking everybody to make sure they had their stuff or that they had purchased, of course. And he was surprised I didn't have a TV in my cart. And I was like, why would I have a TV? And he's like, well, everybody that's come through today has been buying televisions. And I suppose it's because people wanted to have the newest stuff where they had the streaming technologies built right into them, of course. And by the way, have you tried to buy a computer lately? I can't get over this. I went to buy a couple tablets about 2 weeks ago and was shocked. I couldn't find a tablet. I just needed a couple inexpensive ones for a work project I was doing. And I couldn't find anything under the $700 mark. Just the high end ones were left. I was absolutely stunned by that. Then I started looking a little bit more. No computers. Everything that was under $1,000 was gone at Sam's Club. So there is this rush for this work at home type of scenario right now to find computers, tablets, what have you, too, as we adjust to this. So it's interesting. It's not just toilet paper, I guess, that and other food products or food products that are being impacted by all of this. A lot of technology is too. So I found that interesting as well. Social media. Are you spending a little bit more time on social media than you did before? Are you using it to keep in better contact, maybe with the people that you normally would get together with? Are they now just available to you through social media platforms, and that's how you're communicating? The other night, some of my family have been using Zoom to play bingo, which I thought was kind of fun. It's the first time I've played bingo, or in a very, very long time. I shouldn't say the first time, but hadn't played in quite some time. But had a nice little bingo session using Zoom the other night with some family members. And of course, it was more about visiting and seeing how everybody's doing than playing bingo. But it was just a nice little diversion for the evening and kind of nice. So you can be creative those ways with video, and no reason that you can't continue to do things that you wouldn't do in normal life and just have that person or a group of people on your screen. So um yeah, so those are some of the things I guess that I've been privy to using over the time. My phone has become even more important, I guess. I've been using that probably more than normal. Um, been exploring TikTok probably a little too much. So, we have you have time now to explore some of these things. I'm not sure what my opinion is on TikTok yet. One of these days, I'll probably weigh in on that. A lot of young people using TikTok, of course, and it seems to be unusual for anybody over 35 or 40 to be posting on there right now. But that seems to be changing a little bit. So as that moves forward, it'll probably become more of an entertainment venue, for a social media venue for many people. Michelle, this is kind of great. She has a writers group. They meet via video chat. That's kind of a cool thing, and I guess that's true. I guess I can't. All of the committees that I sit on right now, uh, I don't think we've actually had a face-to-face meeting in, I'd say, a month and a half or 2 months. So almost everything, as far as committee work, those type of things have been via video chat. And I've noticed that even government, all the way to the top levels, are now using video, streaming video as a way to use for meetings, city council meetings, state meetings. All of these meetings are really becoming a thing when it comes to using video. So Laura, as soon as the adults find TikTok, the kids, you're probably right, Laura. Laura, do you hop onto TikTok occasionally? Is this something that you like to explore a little bit? You know what I like about TikTok? I mean, I know there's a lot of young people doing crazy things on there. It reminds me of a younger YouTube experience, when YouTube was first becoming popular and a lot of people were using their skateboards or whatever. And of course, that stuff continues on. But I love the DIY stuff, and I've been looking at a lot of, um, people who do a lot of woodworking and those type of things. I don't know why I have I've never really done much woodwork. My dad was a carpenter. Maybe that's why I enjoy watching those type of things when people build cabinets and do great things with wood. But it's fun to watch these things, right? And it gives you that opportunity to kind of learn about that as well. So and maybe to explore a little bit about maybe some of the passions that you have that you haven't had a chance to check out. So TikTok, of course, is kind of videos that are short, as opposed to YouTube, where you can get some longer tutorials, longer video type of things now. But yeah. Let's see. What else was I going to talk about before we have Michael jumping on? Oh, yes. Apple and Google. As crazy as it is, they have actually partnered on something. These two go back and forth. In fact, it'd be amazing to me if they tend to sue each other quite a bit for different infringements on technologies. But for COVID-19, they have actually come together, and they're working with governments, health authorities across the world to find solutions for COVID-19, whether it's contact tracing or what have you. So what's interesting about this, and what I'm sure a lot of you are going to be concerned with as we move forward, is how much do you want Google, Apple, your government to know about you and the people that you associate with? I mean, they already know a significant amount about who you are already. You'd be stunned, quite frankly. This little device right here has changed how people gather information about you, and it's just a matter of, you don't have to input anything, you just have it on, and Google or Apple actually know where you've been. If you go to the same coffee shop every morning, you'll start getting advertising based on coffee, for example, because they know your routine. And it isn't even if you're searching for anything. Of course, it's always listening to you as well. And of course, conspiracy theorists believe that because it's always listening, it's always targeting you for additional advertisements or what have you. And that's interesting too. And we're not going to get into that too much today. But, is there value to the fact that Apple and Google have gathered so much information about you and know a lot about you that they can use this in the fight against COVID-19? And how do you feel about that? I would be really, really curious, as we explore this a little bit more, and a year from now, when these things are going to be, discussed hotly, debated, I'm sure that it'll really be interesting to see how people feel about giving up, their rights, their privacy rights, so to speak. Go like this, yes. In exchange for maybe feeling a little bit safer, or are we feeling safer because of the technology and the devices that we have? So Doug weighing in again. We should all switch mobile devices a couple times each week. Oh, that would be all right, Doug. You and I are going to mail each other our devices, and we're going to really mess up Google and Apple about who we are after that, because you're going to start, the unfortunate thing is that they're all going to think that you're going to be drinking a lot now, and that I drink coffee as opposed to the other way around. Just saying. But we could mess with them a little bit. That's a good idea, actually. So, all right, in just a couple of minutes, everybody, Michael Freeman will be joining us. We're going to be talking a lot about telemedicine. This should be a very exciting conversation, and looking forward to that. Looking through all my other little notes here. So I watched so I'm not a big Star Wars fan. I'm more Star Trek. And if you say the wrong, when you're talking about a movie and you mention Star Wars when you're talking about Star Trek, I'm one of those people that will correct you about that. However, I've been watching The Mandalorian on Disney. Actually signed up. I'm one of those people who have actually bought more streaming channels during this time, and was watching Disney Plus the other night and watched The Mandalorian. That is actually a pretty good show. I was pretty impressed with that, and am looking forward to the next season, by the way. So if you're in that science fiction genre, I would highly recommend The Mandalorian. I thought that was really great. Good friend of mine, going to give her a shout out here. I'm not sure if she's watching, but Michelle Lucas. She's my astronaut buddy. And Michelle, it's your birthday tomorrow, so I'm wishing you an early birthday. I hope you have an amazing day. I know that probably not what you want to be doing is sheltering in place, but that is just how it is. So have a great birthday, Michelle. All right, everybody. Without further ado, I want to bring in Mr. Michael Freeman. Michael is the founder of Ocutrex, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Michael. Founded the company in 2015. It's an AR, augmented reality R&D company based in Freeman's computer mediated. I should probably, I'm suffering from some allergies today, everybody. So a little tough for me to read. So actually, I think I'll just bring Michael in.
And hi there. How are you, Marl?
Doing, Michael?
Good. Good. Sheltering in safety right here, like everyone else, right?
So you're in your house right now?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah, our office is actually in the main office in Irvine, and I live in Laguna Beach. So at least during the pandemic, I get to look at the ocean, right?
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you must be getting a little echo on my phone there, huh?
I can't hear the echo. Can you hear it? I'm
getting a little bit, so I'm going to change that up. Are you hearing me okay yet?
Yes, I'm hearing you fine.
And of course, I don't hear you now, so
try
that again. Okay. Hopefully nobody else is hearing the echo except me. So, tell me a little bit. Before we get into your company, you have a fascinating past. So let's talk about the patents that you hold and how you got to where you're at right now.
Well, the very first patents I got, 2 patents for mobile video. And so we ended up, the end of the story is we sold the technology patents to Samsung. But if you're using a Android 4G phone, you're still using what we invented way back in 1994. My father bought a computer company, and so I grew up building computers. At one point in time, we were the largest supplier of computer products to the state of California, and I could never quite get the installers to push the right chip down. So I kept thinking, I only see them. So as a result of that, my brother and I and my brother-in-law invented mobile video, got the first patents on it. And actually, interestingly, they don't do this very much anymore. But before the patent office would give us the patents, they actually made us come to Washington, D.C. and showed them how it worked. Because at that point in time, people didn't believe that you could do video over a cellular tower, right? And so the way we did it is the MIMO standard today, which is to couple numbers of. So if you have a 4G cell phone, you've got at least 4 frequencies that have antennas that are sending out the information, splits it up, puts it back together at the tower, and that's what we did. And so later on in life, my father, who ran the company, we had a great run with a mobile video product. We actually won 2 Emmy Awards for technological innovation for 1994 and Best Spot News, because they could now you can do it with your cell phone, but then taking a device out in a boat and filming a flood was like revolutionary, right? And so later on in life, my dad, who was a U.S. Air Force general and fighter pilot and businessman, developed macular degeneration, and couldn't read his emails, couldn't see his grandkids' faces, really got despondent. And this is a disease that affects probably 30 million people in the United States, and is very debilitating. And it's very hard, particularly with people that live alone or semi-alone, to manage by themselves. So we got together, and he said, I know we can't heal the disease, but let's see if we did video before. Let's see if we can do a workaround. And so that was Christmas of 2013 that he was suggesting this to us. We got him a curved TV. The Samsung and Sony, all the curved TVs were a big deal. And when he walked up close to the curved TV, he was like, wow, I can see so much better. I still can't see the 50-yard line, but I can see everything else. And we realized, it's putting more information on his periphery. And so that's when we began to develop the software that basically finds where the scotoma, the central disease, is in the eye for AMD, and basically move in the streaming video, move all the pixels out so that the whole video is there, just none of it is displayed in the area of the eye. So we're now advanced to 2020, we're doing we have the AR headsets, and we're doing 60 frames a second video. We have two 4K cameras that take the video, and then micro displays that display it on the lens. But in between that time, for the macular degeneration product, we interrupt the video to the display, and within 5 milliseconds, we buffer the image so that everything is moved out. And for reading, we only move it out rectilinearly. So we just move everything out. And our clinical trials have shown that people that haven't read in as much as 4 years come in, put our headset on, take a visual field test so that the digital headset knows where the analog defect is as if it was displayed on the screen. And they start 15, 20 minutes, they're reading at a 120 words a minute pace, which is just astonishing. The clinical trials showed that all of the subjects had worse than 2400 vision to start out with. And by the time they put our headset on, went through the visual field test, they had average of 2063 in the left eye and 2058 in the right eye. They were able to read at least 3 lines down on the logmar chart where they hadn't been able to read before. Some of them read 4 and some of them read 5 lines down. And for an example, if you get a cataract surgery and you're able to read 2 or 3 lines down, this is considered great success. So the fact that we could have them read even more down was considered phenomenal by the retinal surgeons. And so that is our first product to the market, but we have a number of others. I'll pause and let you ask another question.
Sure. Oh, this is fascinating. So your product is to the market already?
No, it will be we've had the COVID China supply delays. Sure. And so that'll be out in first quarter of 2021.
Okay. And any idea? I hate to ask the price question, but somebody who is suffering from macular degeneration and they want to, get your new device, how do they go about that? What's the cost?
Yes. And so we're primarily going to go through low vision clinics, but a lot of times the retinal surgeons nowadays have their own low vision clinics. So the retinal surgeons will just self-refer to another department within their practice. And the price is $6,000. But because we are doing the visual field test, we recommend people do that every week because it updates for any differences, and sometimes twice a day. Doctors find that people with macular degeneration see a little differently in the afternoon than they see early in the morning, and so we have them do the visual field test. And what happens is then that gets uploaded in the AT&T HIPAA secured cloud, and then if there is a red dot, meaning they can't see, where there used to be green dots where they could see, they click with a clicker or they speak to the headset and say, I see the dot, I see, I didn't see. And so if that changes, or if the size of the scotoma gets larger, then that automatically sends a ping to the doctor's office, because especially if they have like wet macular degeneration, it could be a bleed. And if their appointment isn't for 6 months, they could have tremendous amount of damage, by that time. Right. Where if they go in right away, then they can typically minimize the damage to not very much larger scotoma that you have. So because of this, we have CPT codes from Medicare for in-home monitoring that will pay up to about $1,800 of the cost. And then if you have Medicare Plan B, pays up to $1,000 of the cost per year. And so we can finance, so you can use that per year, several years in a row. So that gets the cost down, less than a good pair of hearing aids.
Amazing technology. So were you at CES this year?
No.
Okay. Wasn't sure if I was curious to see how the audience reacted to your product. So, but I look forward to seeing this sometime, Michael. This sounds amazing. So,
yeah.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying we were actually traveling with presentations in London at the London Retinal Conference. Okay. London Retinal Society.
So, moving forward now, you're moving into the telemedicine space as well. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we realized that since actually what happened was so many of our medical advisor doctors, we have a lot of the KOLs in the industry that are on our advisory board, and they were saying, we are totally out of commission with the COVID, and we could at least do an eye test. We could at least have people do an eye test, and your headset does an eye test. So wow, we need to get this out for remote medical presence. And so, since we're already connected, our headset with Qualcomm and AT&T are our two partners, and through AT&T we can either put a SIM chip in the headset or just leave it Wi-Fi, and so you can actually put the SIM chip in and then be able to talk to the doctor, and so the doctor can call the headset, give you time to get it on and respond, and then all the patient information shows in the doctor's headset, so the doctor has all your patient information to scroll through, and then that headset will have sensors to do like a blood pressure, heart rate, pulse oximeter, the visual field test, and then it has a wand that comes back and looks at you, and you can take that off and show the doctor other parts of problem that you have. So you actually have a self-directed camera that you can show a bump or a scar or a rash or anything else that you need to show.
Wow.
Then with the visual field test, we're able to actually do a lot of what the doctors could do with the slit lamp. We have rear-facing cameras, and we're working on right now, even though the thermometry, to do a retinal scan from the headset, so we can actually see what's going on, in layers underneath the retina.
So do you think it's going to be the future of medicine, the ability to just communicate with your daughter or doctor from wherever you're at?
I do. Just last year, Medicare finally put in their payment plan for 2020, the fact that physicians could bill, nurses could bill, occupational therapists could bill for time with the patient. And before it really hadn't been very attractive for the doctors to try to get into, because there wasn't a method for them to get reimbursed. And so now, for the first time, and it's great that it hit at COVID. It's bad that COVID hit, but it's great that they did put a remote telepresence payments into the reimbursement last year, so they can get reimbursed. And I was on a conference call with about 200 ophthalmologists just 2 weeks ago, and they did a survey, and all the ophthalmologists estimated that from COVID on, the future will be at least 25 to 35% of all ophthalmic doctor visits will be virtual and through a headset or some other device.
So I got all kinds of questions now in my head. But, first one would be, what kind of impact would this technology have if it was available right now? While many of us are shelter in place and don't have the ability to go see a doctor.
Right. Well, would give you that direct connection with the doctor. It's a HIPAA secured, connection, so your information or what you say is not getting out or being spied upon by somebody else. And so we've got that through our relationship with AT&T. We're only the second augmented reality company that AT&T has done a master service agreement with, and it's because of our penetration into the medical market space. So right now, the ophthalmic doctors, the surgeons, all kinds of other treating doctors are sitting at home waiting for the go green light to get back in the office and be able to see patients. And all during this time, they could have been seeing patients with our headset, and that was what all of our doctors were going, hey, I wish I had your headset. I'd, send it out. And especially for chronic diseases where the patients need to see the doctor on a regular basis,
Right.
Like AMD, like macular degeneration, these other chronic diseases where you have to have regular treatments. I think it's the wave of the future. Probably won't be, exceed half, but I think it will be at least 25% to 35%, like the other doctors on that survey, of all physician interface with patients, in the future.
Now, I live in a rural part of the country. Of course, the town I'm in actually has, a couple of places that we can go for healthcare. But you get, 30, 40, 50 miles, 100 miles away from here. We get in some pretty remote parts of the country. And, one of the challenges of people living in rural parts of our country is healthcare. Do you see this impacting the lifestyle that people choose so that they can stay on, the farm or ranch longer if they love living in rural parts of our country. Do you see this changing that for people?
Yes, I hope so. A few years ago, the rural electric co-ops had a bill passed that was like the last mile for the rural, and it just hasn't been built out yet. So I see with the 5G, it's going to be a little bit easier to build that out. And then also, like we're working with several hospitals in London, and they have hugely underserved areas that are in places that are not connected well. And so we're working with them to roll a satellite truck that has a satellite connection on it. And then they might have 10 or 15 of our headsets inside the truck so they can have people come in, talk to a doctor through the headset, take the visual field test. And just to show you how revolutionary this is. So for instance, if you go into a doctor's office right now, they have a machine called a Humphreys visual field examiner, right? And this is probably a 800-pound machine. It's a little bit smaller than an ice box, than a refrigerator, and we're doing the exact same thing in a 250-gram headset now. So doctors are like, we knew this was coming, but we didn't know it was going to be this quick, because this is astonishing to have all that algorithm crunch and something that you can wear. And we've got a partnership with Qualcomm, and we're using their XR2 chipset, and we're one of the first with Qualcomm to be in the medical space. And because what we're doing right now probably couldn't have been done even 3 or 4 years ago, because of the crunching of the algorithms that it takes to do the visual field test and then manipulate the pixels. So it's a brand new world. I think there's all kinds of upscale possibilities.
Fantastic. So we're getting some questions, Michael. So I'm just going to put them on the screen here. Michelle asked, with Medicare leading the way, how far behind will other insurers be in covering this kind of virtual presence?
Yeah, so I'm predicting that they will join, because basically, think about it. It cuts down. It increases healthcare. It increases patient confidence. You can get to the doctor when you need to, without the travel, without the parking, without the disability aspect of trying to get into a building. And so I think because of all those reasons, the insurance companies will see. We've actually talked with a couple that we're under NDA with right now, looking at adopting this technology. So I believe they will, because I think they'll find it's in their interest to have the patients treated when they need the treatment, not 2 weeks later when they can find a ride or whatever. So I believe it's a coming thing for not only Medicare. And by the way, the doctors, even though there was some small amounts of reimbursement for home care, remote patient monitoring in the Medicare for 2020, they're looking at increasing that greatly. So I think it's going to come both with Medicare and private payers.
And if you're just joining us, everybody, I'm speaking with Michael Freeman. He's the founder of Ocutrex. And just this fascinating discussion. Another question. Can you see this type of device helping first responders?
Yes, I can, because it provides a network, and with our AT&T partnership, we can have a linked network, a limited network that only so many people can be on a channel. So the first responders can wear the headset, and I'll give you a really good example. We have a technology called SLAM in the headset. Have you heard of that? It's
not familiar.
It's simultaneous localization and mapping, and it's the same kind of technology that drives the Google autonomous cars.
Okay.
And so, like the Google autonomous cars, our headset has sensors, and 50 feet out in front of the sensors take 220-degree view of the world, right? And within 50 feet out, it builds a grid, and it knows where everything is, and it has the 7 million identified objects that also drive the Google car, because we're Android. And so the headset knows this is a chair, that's a door, this is a wall, this is a person, this is a backpack, and it's got all that mapped, and it does it in milliseconds. There's probably about a 20 millisecond delay for it to identify everything up to 50 feet. And so the good thing about that for first responders, for instance, if firemen went into into a building, and all of a sudden the area they're in filled up with smoke. The headset with the SLAM technology and the AI in it knows exactly how to turn you around and show you a flashing dot to walk to get back out the same door you came in, because it can remember every place that you've been on each trip up to about half of a football field.
That's amazing. So talk a little bit about how we find out more about your company.
Yes, our website is www.oculenz.com. And then if you look up Ocutrex is the name of the company, the product is Oculens for patients. For surgeons using our headset for better visualization of surgeries, it's the OR lens, ORLENZ. So you can look up any of those. We have probably about almost 200 articles out on the internet about our different products. And just today we debuted our OR bot, which is a new surgery visualization theater, so that surgeons can either use our augmented reality headset to see the video stream of the surgery with patient information over here, like patient vitals and tool information over here, or they can look at a 3D autostereoscopic 3D screen where they don't have to wear 3D glasses to see a 3D image, and that's an 8K, so it provides 4K images to each eye. So everything's 4K. Or we have, for maybe some of the surgeons that have been in a long time don't want to change, we have what used to be a standard microscope. Now we've got in a VR context, so they can pull it up and it looks like a microscope, but what it really is just a VR. And that's all taking place by a camera that's on the surgery space. So it's for ophthalmology, it's for ear, nose, and throat, for back surgery, spine surgery, neck surgery, vascular surgery. So we're getting into all that as well.
That is absolutely amazing. So if you were to use this device in a surgery, tell me, I guess I want to know what the difference would be for a doctor not using your device and the doctor using your device.
Well, for number one, in ophthalmic surgery, which was our primary, field that we started out in, 50% of the surgeons experience pain during surgery because of how they have to crane, look, stay in one position for 4 hours without moving. About 15% of those have to go on and have surgery themselves because of work-related, surgery-related problems, neck problems, back problems, and about 7% of the surgeons have to retire early unexpectedly because they just can't do the surgeries anymore. They can't recover good enough from the surgery. So what we've done is brought in a very ergonomic, the television. If you want to use the television screen, it's on a big device that cantilevers over the patient, can be adjusted up and down. It has robotic arms, 6-axis robotic arms. And so for wearing the AR headset, what that does is we can take let's say a heart surgeon, we can take the 3D MRI that they took a picture of before the heart surgery. We can show it to the heart surgeon like a meter in front of him, like right here. He can change the registry with our 6 degrees of freedom and posing. It's sitting there in virtual space. He can change the registry and orientation and actually lean over and overlay it on the real heart to know exactly which vein, exactly where to maybe like do an ablation where they freeze down the heart to reset it so it goes from atrial fib back into sinus rhythm. And that now they're having to look at a 2D screen and try to go, okay, it goes here, 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 here. And then they have to do it on the real heart, where we could actually take that screen, take that image and lay it over the heart. So you've got it, all you have to do is trace. So we think it'll improve surgeries. It'll improve the downtime for the people that are getting the surgeries, because now it'll be, and like for ophthalmology, we're working with Dr. Daniel Ting, who's the world's most renowned AI for ophthalmology expert. He's a medical doctor and a PhD. And what we're looking to do is much like LASIK, LASIK surgery.
Yeah,
It's better now and more accurate now than the first person they used it on, because they've got an engine that helps them correct along.
right.
So we're going to do that for ophthalmology surgery, so that a surgeon would see an eye and it would say, this size eye, this size operation, the preferred cut would be 2.3 centimeters right here, put the scope in over here and give them pointers and hints and that kind of stuff. So surgeons that, a lot of hospitals like Moorfields in London have outreach programs to probably 60 countries around the world, where the surgeons get trained, but then they go back and they need help. And so this would be a way to, give those type of surgeons all the help they need to have better surgery outcomes. So we're even going to get into the AI part of it.
So I'm going to pivot just a little bit. What about, let's say I come across somebody who's been in a car accident, and I happen to have your device with me. I mean, is there a way that this device sometime in the future? I mean, I put the set on, and will a doctor be able to help me with that person in an emergency situation until help arrives? I mean, are these type of things that you're thinking about?
Yes, exactly. And actually, it's interesting. I'm kind of retracing the same steps way back when we invented streaming mobile video. We had a product called Rescue Cam.
Okay.
And so the Rescue Cam was in the ambulances. And so now this is just a modern version of that, where if you get out and look, then the doctor could see. A lot of times they can tell if you're having a heart attack, or they need to do something immediately by the color under your fingernails and on your skin. And so there's a lot of visual cues that EMTs and people that are remote, that are not there, would give them an idea of what you need to do to, either trach the person, or to, turn them over the other way, or do all kinds of things to help. And so, I think the EMTs, they'll be wearing this headset in the ambulances in the future, I believe, which will give the doctor real-time communication and have the doctor seeing exactly what they're doing. For instance, they could, set a lead wrong, and that gives bad information to the doctor. He might have them, inject when they don't need to, and so the doctor can be the one to double check, because he's seeing exactly what they're doing.
So how important is AI going to be in this scenario as well?
I think we're just on the tip of an iceberg. So I think one of the reasons we're actually in an era where as I said, the SOM, the standard optical microscope, which is just like glasses, right? Just different lenses. That is going to transition. Everybody says, all the industry experts are saying, in the next 10 years, all the hospitals, clinics, that kind of thing, are transition out of these old optical microscopes into digital, because the camera and using pixel manipulation technology, we can do so many things. We change the color if they need to see some color. And so I think this is a huge transition with the digital. Now you can record every surgery. You can learn from that. It can be indexed. So I think it's a huge, the data and the AI part of it is going to be huge in the future.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. All right. So now we're going to get to the maybe not so serious side of our conversation. I want to know how, sheltering in place has changed the way you use technology, maybe around your house. Are you did you happen to buy more streaming channels during this period of time, or what things have changed with you about using technology?
Well, of course, we have engineers in Northern California, Southern California, Colorado, Oklahoma, and New York. And what changed mainly is we bought a lot more televisions, and now we know like 5 different protocols, and I hadn't seen this protocol that you're using yet, like on Zoom and GoToMeeting. I have a green screen with our headset in the background, but I didn't get that done quite in time today. So I would say overall, it's actually kind of sped up things just a little bit, right? All of our engineers are working at home, but we talk when we need to talk, and then when we don't need to talk, everybody's just working on their working. So I think we've made progress even through the pandemic, and I hear from other, engineering and those type of skill set firms that they've done the same.
So do you think that this is going to change the way we work in the future?
I think so. For instance, I was astonished going to where we've opened an office in the UK, and we're working with some of the hospitals over there on our AMD headset. And I was astonished to learn that almost 1/3 of the UK governmental workforce does not have a place to sit in a government building. They work from home. And they did a study and they found that actually they get more work out of an employee that's working at home than they do the people that come in, just because of the time and the hassle to come in, the communication, the water cooler, conversations,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And so they rotate when they need them to come in, then they will rotate people coming in. And this was astonishing to me because that's definitely not the model that we have in the United States. Maybe
Right.
like WeWork or Regis or some of those kind of things a little bit, but that's not the model. But I think it's the coming model. I think there will be, from what we've seen, we've got just as much, progress out of our engineers working from their homes than working in the office. So I think we're going to adopt more of that.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that. So as you move forward, are you going to be looking at, places to lease or buy, for additional, workforce in other parts of the world, or are you just going to recruit the workforce to work from home?
Yeah, so I think that's beginning to be the model, because you don't really need the brick and mortar anymore as much as it's a concept. It's needed in certain instances, but the type of business we're in, where it's basically engineering, design, testing circuit boards, that kind of thing, a lot of that can be done in a home lab or a non brick and mortar type setting.
All right. Well, we're at that time, Michael. It's really been a pleasure having you on. I hope I'd love to have you back on in a couple months just to see your progress on some of the things that you're doing. Absolutely fascinating.
Thank you, Marlo. Thank you, and appreciate it.
It's been great. And I appreciate everybody for joining us today, and we'll see you again next week. Bye-bye.